Hello, everyone. I am back, both literally and figuratively. We went on a trip to Minnesota, and our flight back got canceled. And so we ended up staying overnight and just got back a little bit ago. So the mold and parts sat for several days, which didn't bother me. And I think it rained, which also, like I said, didn't bother me because I think it actually helped get the parts loose. But today I was determined to get the two parts apart. So I had to apply quite a bit of force, not quite a bit, but some. It didn't just pop out, let's put it that way. Anyway, let me show you what I've got. So on the left you see the original part, and on the right you see my splash mold. So a couple things. If you look, you can see that the splash mold got damaged. I knew that would happen. This answers the other question. Somebody said, well, why did you just put one layer of fiberglass on there? Well, I put one layer of fiberglass because I knew it wouldn't come off without damaging it somewhere. And it's way easier to tear one layer of fiberglass than more than one. And you can see that that lip didn't stay, which again, I knew it wouldn't. I wasn't sure where it would be or where it wouldn't be or how much I could leave. I was hoping to leave like 1/4 of an inch or something like that. The fact that it's separated right there, don't really care. I can do that later if I want or not. This is the original part. It's undamaged. The green you see is the PVA, polyvinyl alcohol, and the white you see is wax. So I did both. I put the PVA on there and then I waxed it as well. So there's the original part. So now what I need to do is reinforce this mold in the places where it got damaged, and then make a part, basically just like this gray part, out of this mold. Not sure how much I'm going to support, where I'm going to put flanges, if I'm going to put flanges. The goal of this is just to get a pseudo copy of that front end right now. Eventually I'll probably make a real mold or have a real mold made. I'll probably have it made because making molds is not my thing. I'm after the end goal. But this will at least get me enough. Now, to remind everybody, the whole goal of this is to put this front end on a C8 Corvette, which it is not going to fit. I already know that from my prior conversion of a C8 to a C2, and things that caused the problem with the C2 will also cause this a problem with the Grand Sport. The biggest issue is the wheel wells need to be moved. So on the C8, anyone that's familiar with it knows that there's very little distance between the, let me go the other side so we can see better. Hopefully the sun's not in the camera too much. All right, so the distance from the wheel well, back of the wheel well to the door edge is probably half of that. So what's that mean? Oh, and then the distance from the front edge of the wheel well to the front of the car is probably twice what it is. So basically that wheel well needs to be moved back about 1 foot, maybe 1.5 feet. I won't know until I get it up to it. So there was no point in making it accurate when I know I'm going to have to hack that section out, move it, and then fill in the blank spot up front. So all of that, there was, like I said, there was no point in making an accurate mold or an accurate part when I know I'm just going to have to hack it up. So I just needed enough that I had something that I could start with, cut out that wheel well, move it back, fill in the blank spot. So again, I saw no reason to get the mold accurate or the part accurate. All right, that's really what I've got. I haven't even looked at the inside of the mold. I'll do that in a minute. I literally just pulled it apart a little bit ago. So what I'll do is I will put this mold back on the part, and then I will reinforce it so it's a little more stable than it is right now. And then, like I said, I damaged some areas. So what I'll do is I'll put this back on, and I'll just put a layer of fiberglass on top of this, close that gap up as best as I can. Maybe put a piece of tape or something over it. Haven't decided exactly what to do, but I'll be sure and wax or PVA the part itself so that the fiberglass resin doesn't get in there and try to glue the two pieces together. I was waiting on some great release compound. I think it's a liquid, if I'm not mistaken. I ordered it, but it hasn't come in yet, so I will repair the mold a little bit, and then if it doesn't come in, I will go ahead and do it the old way with the PPA and the wax. If it does come in, even better, I'll do that. This time I'll probably go back to the original way of waxing the part first, spraying the PVA on really light, and then going heavier and heavier, because all I want to do is make sure that it doesn't stick to the original part. I could skip the wax, but considering the fact that the area where it tore is also where the most stress was when I was removing it, then it makes sense to do what I can to keep those parts from sticking together too much. And then I may go ahead and do the lip around the fender. Not sure, I still haven't decided whether I want to do that or not. But even with a second layer, both the part and the pseudo mold, splash mold, will be flexible enough that I can flex them a little bit and get them separated. Let's see, there was another area over here that it literally got torn. Again, I suspected that the fiberglass was light there. I am a bit impatient when I'm doing stuff like this, so didn't worry about it. Tore the fender lip right there, if you can see that white area. Let's see. Oh, and then I can go ahead with a grinder or a sander or a sanding block, whatever, and trim up these edges. There's no reason for these rough edges to exist. I just use my vibrating multi-tool to trim off what was easy to trim off, and some of those areas didn't get soaked with resin real well. This is the area where I was talking about before, where there were air bubbles here. I actually trimmed some of them. Let's see if we can see these air bubbles. Yeah, there we go. So all along here, see that white, light colored area? That's where the fiberglass didn't get down, and there's air pocket underneath there. The question is, how fragile is the gel coat underneath? Don't know. I'll have to check that and see. But even if it is fragile, that's an easy area to fix. It's just next time I will do something different to fill in that area. While I was out of town, the Cabasil and the fiberglass fibers both came in. I ordered those last week. So if I do this again, I will use one or both of those to fill in those areas so that doesn't happen. And at some point in the future, I'm going to look at, I have the mold for the C6 to C2 conversion, and it's a multi-piece mold. And I know the headlight section is completely different, but a lot of the other section is going to be the same. So what I want to do is I want to take this and ideally make it to where I can remove the C8 to standard C2 sections and then replace those sections with the C8 to Grand Sport sections. So I should be able to reuse quite a few of the molds, or a whole lot of the mold, multi-piece mold, and then just replace some of the sections. So I'll see if that'll work, how that'll work, if that'll work, and I'll know more in the future. Unfortunately, the molds are not here. They're several hours away, and I just don't have time to go get them and come back. So I'm going to do what I can with this. Again, like I said, it all has to be modified anyway. So once I get it modified in the way I want, then I'll look at all the parts and decide how I'm going to mix, match, and do whatever I'm going to do to get the parts I wanted. Again, part of the reason I did not spend a lot of time on getting this mold perfect is because this part was damaged, or not damaged, it was not made, let's say, the greatest. Not a big deal, but you can see places like right here. What happened right here is exactly what I was talking about. There was obviously air bubbles in between the fiberglass and the gel coat, and there's nothing for the gel coat's very fragile, so there's nothing for the gel coat to hold on to. Same thing here. It's got a spot here. I can go over this thing right there. All these are difficult areas I found out when I was making this part myself. There's a little bit of alligatoring right there if you're familiar with that. Let's see what else. Anyway, there's spots like that all over it. So I either had to spend, if I flip it over, you can see this whole front edge over here. This area right here where you can see through it, the gel coat literally just fell off because there was air pockets all along there. There's a gouge right there. And this front edge, this entire front edge was out of place. And you can see somebody put tape on there. You see remnants of at one time. So they probably took the mold, put tape over it. So the mold they made this from obviously was bad in this area. And even though they taped it and tried to make a better part, the part had the same exact issues as the mold did. Same thing here. You can see there was a piece of tape put there. And there's some more alligatoring or flaking or whatever you want to call it. And again, all of this green stuff is literally just PVA. It turns into a plastic film, so it just comes off either dry, you can peel it off, or you can wet it down and it turns into mush basically, and you can wash it off. So either one will work. This is where that lip was, and again, the gel coat, I didn't put fiberglass on top of it so the gel coat didn't stick, but you can see the gel coat just comes right off because of the PVA and the wax. So a scrub brush, stiff scrub brush, will take all of that off. All right, and then this area right here on my other mold, or my other part on my mold, my splash mold, I wasn't real careful about doing this because it really needed to be set up on its side, and I really didn't want to mess with it, so I didn't do it. Here's another area that wasn't good on the original part. You can see that area should have been trimmed, rounded, fixed. It wasn't right there. So again, there were enough bad spots on this part that it just plain, I either had to spend 2 days fixing all of these spots before I made a quote perfect or near perfect mold, or I could just cheat and slap together something just to get past it. So I chose option B, cheat, splash something together. My goal is to get a part made from this mold this week so that I can get it to Duntop Motorsports along with the hood and say, here's the parts, please finish my car. I need it really done within the next 2 months if I'm going to make the shows that I want to make. It's already, well, I just turned May. So it's May, and I mean, car season, show season is kicking off, and I need cars to show. All right, like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate, and if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't know Jack. Bye.